Hey everybody, it's Jason Blahall with Ice Cream Fitness here, and as promised, I'm going to continue the Back to the Basics series. And today I'm going to talk about just the basics of what most people need to know about their training. But hold on, let me give you guys a bicep shot first. Mount Bicephius. Alright, and in keeping with the spirit of this series, keep in mind that these are not what a competitive bodybuilder or a competitive powerlifter or some type of athlete needs to do. This is simply people who have basic physique goals whose goal is to look better than 99% of the other people at the beach. Basic advice for non-competitors. Now, what do you need as far as training goes to achieve this? It's very, very basic. I would say as far as your split, you either probably need to do a full body 3 times a week or either an upper, lower, or push-pull type of split 4 days a week so that you're training each body part 2 or 3 times a week. And whichever of those you happen to be doing, if you feel that you have a lagging body part and you want to come in and train it on its own 1 more time a week, that's fine. Feel free to do so. It's not going to hurt your progress and it might help. So there's no need to be so dogmatic about the split. If you have weak points, come in and train them on their own day. It's fine. Now, as far as lifts go, you don't need a wide variety of lifts. You don't need 30 different lifts if you're not peaking for a bodybuilding show. And a lot of Mr. Olympia contenders over the years would even tell you you don't need it even for that. So it really is a subject of controversy. But what I would recommend is just basic heavy movements. And I think ideally a routine should be based around things like the barbell squat, the deadlift, weighted chin-ups, the bench press. And like I said in the other video, if you don't like the bench press or you don't like chin-ups, replace them with a similar compound movement. You could do dips, or you could do decline bench, or you could do barbell rows or T-bar rows if you don't happen to like those. And I would recommend some type of overhead pressing. Find what you're comfortable with. If behind the neck presses hurt and you can't do full range of motion without straight on the shoulder, do them in the front. If you want more power, do push presses instead of strict presses. Doesn't have to be that complex. And then as far as your isolation movements, you shouldn't need that many. If you're doing all of those lifts progressively at least twice a week, most of your big muscles and most of your major muscles are going to develop at close to their maximum rate. So for isolation movements, figure out what you're lacking. If your biceps aren't growing fast enough off the chin-ups, or you're concerned they're not going to grow fast enough, throw in 2 or 3 sets of curls a week. If they really start lagging, try doing 5 sets of curls a week. If your side delts are lagging or your rear delts are lagging, throw in side laterals or bent over laterals and face pulls. If your calves are lagging, do some calf raises. It's not that complicated. That's how your isolation movements should go. They should be refinement and finishing movements or weak point training to bring up body parts that aren't quite getting enough stimulation off the heavy compounds. No need to be complex about it. And as I've said over and over, remember, there is no one best lift. It's oftentimes a person's execution of a lift that works a primary mover that keeps them from developing it correctly. But done correctly, a straight bar curl, an incline curl, alternating dumbbell curls, they're all going to put direct stress on the bicep. So people get overly dogmatic about this, trying to find a best lift. Now, as far as progression goes, any basic progressive overload system is going to work. Now, intermediates and up can start messing with undulating reps and more advanced systems, but you shouldn't need that. For your first year or two, and to get probably 70 to 80% of the muscle that you're ever going to be able to put on your frame naturally can be done in that first year or two. And all you need is any type of basic progressive overload system. I'm sorry about the kettle boiling in the background. My wife doesn't know I'm in here filming, and I think she just woke up. So she's boiling the tea kettle. Nothing I can do about it. I'm going to keep filming. And that could be, you could run a 5x5 protocol to where you, every time you do a lift, you try to add 5 pounds. And when you stall and you can no longer do your 5 sets of 5 with it, you drop the weight 10% and re-ramp back up. Or you could do a system to where you, if you want to do higher reps and work on progressing with reps, you could do 8 reps, 3 sets or 4 sets of 8, then 3 or 4 sets of 9, then 3 or 4 sets of 10, 3 or 4 sets of 11, 3 or 4 sets of 12. Add weight, add 10 pounds and drop it back down to 8 reps and start the cycle over again. there's different ways to progress. If you can progress with reps, you can progress with weight, you can even progress with volume. Although I don't recommend progressing with volume for novice and early intermediates. So you don't really need anything complex. There are half a dozen different proven effective methods of progressive overload. All of them work fairly well. And we could argue all day long as to which one's better than the other. Pick the one that you want to use and work with it for a few months. 3 or 4 months, see how you get on. If you don't like that type of progression, go do a different one. If you don't like a rep-based one, go do a 5x5. If you don't like a 5x5, go to a rep-based one. This stuff is really simple. Any of these methods that I outlined here are going to produce fairly similar results as far as you gaining muscle for your first year or two. There might be a 10% variation in the total muscle you gain on using one method versus another as far as the way you do that split, the type of progression you use, which specific lifts you pick. It's not going to make a tremendous difference. So keep it simple, keep it basic. And that's really all the vast majority of people need to reach their physique goals as far as the training. Alright guys, so that's really all I have to say on that today. I hope it has been informative, and I will talk to you next time.